Now, Harry, as students, we're in class less these days because of the furloughs and budget cuts and everything that's going on. But how can the university ensure that our generation is still learning the same amount of information in pretty much a shorter time than our peers a couple of years ago?
Well, you break it down into two parts. One, the part that's our responsibility, and then the part that is not. That's the state's. And I think the first thing that we've all learned the last number of years is that the seat time that you spend in the class is not a measure of learning. Learning objectives are and milestones are. So a well-designed course has learning objectives and goals that can be achieved largely independently of seat time. In any given term that we teach a class, I'm likely to be gone for 1 or 2 days on trips to do a conference or to do business. So I think it can be quite possible to design a good class that takes care of the time itself, and that means learning objectives. Then the other part of it is the part that the state needs to set up and talk about, which is how do we want to support higher education and how do we want to value it? And we're at a crossroads, and that is, do we want to have a publicly supported public education system in the state that is of high quality or not? And that's related to the sort of future that we want to have in the state of California. Do we want to have an impoverished one, or do we want to have one that builds itself out and continues the tradition of freedom and great development that California stood for over 100 years?
Now you mentioned quality. I want to ask you, do you think quality still matters at this point, or is it right now just about the numbers and to get students out?
Well, I think it's always both, to be quite honest about it. And I think the faculty have been very good in designing the programs and carrying them through. And obviously it's become more severe to make the test of making the budget work. But, you know, whether we have a budget cut or not, we live in a capitalist society. And that means we're always under pressure to perform better with less resources because of rising costs for materials, rising costs for labor, and people don't want to pay as much for the goods that they value. So what we're seeing now is a reflection of the society's values at large. So I think everybody in their various lives, no matter what they're doing, faces something similar to what we're facing now in the CSU.
Kris, do you feel the pressure in the classroom when you're designing your schedule?
I think that I can streamline them. And the reason why I say that, as a lecturer activist, I want to protect lecturer jobs. And I think that the furloughs have protected lecturer jobs. I know we've lost a lot of people, which is horrible, but we would have lost more. And if we don't have furloughs next year, we're going to lose more. So I think what we need to do is to work with what we've got until the storm blows over. And I think it can be done. I think that we can we can streamline our courses for the time being.
So you're saying that you're willing to make personal sacrifices for the greater good?
Absolutely.
And what kind of personal sacrifices have you made this semester?
Well, I took a 10% pay cut, and then I used to be able to teach summer school every year and winter session, which supplemented my income. And it supplemented everybody's income here because, you know, the younger faculty here, tenured or lecturer, are underpaid. And it's really hard to live in California on the salary, so they supplemented their salary by teaching summer school. And we cut most of the summer school courses as a result of the budget cuts. Well, that's another sacrifice that we've all made.
Would you say that it's still possible to live off a salary like yours at this point?
Not as well. I think we're all really frightened.
So what are you planning to do to supplement your income?
Well, I had been looking for another job, but there aren't any jobs out there. But I'm looking for maybe some part-time work elsewhere, you know. But it's very terrifying.
So you're worried about what's to come. Do you think it's going to get worse? Do you think it's even out at some point?
I hope to God that we can find a solution, that we can all put our heads together and come up with a solution to keep it from getting worse. That's why we are engaging in this letter writing campaign. The lecturers in history started a grassroots movement, and they asked me to help them out because I have experience in advocacy, and this is why we're trying to hit up the federal government for more money.
Can you talk a little bit more about what exactly you're doing and how you're trying to get people to be involved in your letter writing campaign?
Well, what we've done is we've come up with a letter that that we've addressed to Speaker Pelosi and Senator Feinstein that says we really need some help. Students aren't getting their classes, jobs are being lost, and Sacramento is extremely gridlocked, and we're getting nowhere with them. So we're asking them to help us out. I know we did get some federal stimulus money just a few weeks ago that is helping us a bit. Is that correct?
Yes, in total we got $255 million in spring, and then we got as a system another $72 million this past month.
Right. So I have a friend that used to teach here who's a political writer, and I talked to him about what was going on, and he felt that our best bet was to hit up the feds for stimulus money, because if they can bail out the banks, they need to help us.
And what is your response so far?
Really great, and you know, lots of people want to get involved. We're going to send 1,000 letters. When we get 1,000 letters, we'll send them in. We've got 500. Your group approached me about, you know, getting some of the letters together and filling them out and getting people to fill them out.
Yes.
Other faculty members have approached me and said my students want to get involved. And so the response has been really remarkable. People want to do something.
So you think that because we're in this crisis right now, it's actually going to help bring more activism to this campus?
Yes. People are involved that were never involved before.
Now let me ask you this. Is it for you, is it still fun to teach here even under these
Yes, I love my job. I've been fighting to keep my job ever since I've been here. So I still enjoy teaching and love working with the students.
How about you, Harry? Is it still fun to be here?
It's enjoyable in some ways, but I find the whole way we're dealing with budgeting in the state of California to be ridiculous. So that's frustrating. I enjoy the intellectual work, but I find we need different solutions, and the solutions that we can choose are pretty obvious. So we have to go a different route than we're going right now.
Who do you blame for what's going on right now?
Well, I think you blame California in a couple ways. Number one is we have a tax system that's imbalanced. We rely too much on personal income tax and capital gains. And any fool can tell you that if you do that, you're bound to go burn and die at some point in time when the markets crash. We have a mixed agenda for things that we want to support. We have to decide if we want a world-class educational system, a world-class welfare system, or a world-class prison system. And right now we support neither one of those things particularly well, so we have a lack of priorities. And we've abandoned, except in the recent moment in crisis, we've abandoned the idea of citizenship. Everybody wants somebody else to pay for what they want, and very few people participate in the public sphere. So I think what you've got is an indictment that California has brought upon itself.
Under these circumstances, how is CSUN trying to attract or retain faculty right now?
Well, I think that what we should be doing right now, and we're being frustrated a little bit from doing it because of state regulation, is we should be relying less on state money, because I don't think that's going to be there over the next number of years. We have to provide greater opportunity for faculty to make money independently on campus by working in summer sessions, doing grants and contracts, supplementing their income through clinical appointments, doing the other sorts of things that occur at research universities and European universities. Because the days of relying solely on the state of California for our support are long gone.
Is this going to probably mean that tuition's going to go up again very soon?
I think tuition will go up. I think it's unfortunate, but we need to remember that we still have a tuition that's 2/3 the national average. And roughly about 85% of the tuition dollars that people pay on campus are covered by financial aid. So it's an aid-based system. And what's changed over the last 25 years is we've gone from low fee and little aid to middling fee and high aid. And we've gone to a society that's less based on line item budget to the campuses and more on grants and contracts and lending. So that whole philosophy of how you fund education has changed over the last 25 years.